people have never really zapped me with something where I felt burnt, but I've had voice to skull or the Frey effect.
Yep.
I've had people read my mind, like look through my eyes, which is like, that sounds completely absurd, but we're in 2025 right now. We're in the 21st century. We should be having flying cars and all that kind of things. Instead, we have people trying to destroy us by reading our minds, targeting us, and non-consensual experimentation for psychological warfare.
Yep.
You know?
Welcome to the Unveiling Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Mosby. Join me as I dive into powerful stories of resilience and strength. In each episode, I sit down with guests who have faced similar journeys of coercive control, financial manipulation, and personal invasion. Together, we uncover the shadows, share our experiences, and inspire others to reclaim their lives. Tune in, listen, and be a part of the community that stands tall against the forces that seek to control us. Welcome to Unveiling Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Mosby, and today we're diving into a compellingly and deeply personal story with our guest, Joel De La Rosa. Joel's journey is a testament to resilience and bravery. Forced into exile, his life was forever changed on August 14th, 2018, following an illegal raid on his residence in New Orleans. Since then, Joel has endured overt targeting and has courageously documented evidence of these experiences. In this episode, Joel opens up about the challenges he's faced, the strength he's found along the way, and his efforts to shed light on the shadows surrounding his story. Welcome, Joel.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Can you introduce yourself and explain and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Certainly. Hello, my name is Joel De La Rosa. I was targeted in New Orleans. Before I was targeted, I was the Big Easy. New Orleans is called the Big Easy, and it can be really easy. I had a awesome job. I was maintaining 12 properties, which paid for my housing, my electric, and my water. And then at night, I worked in a restaurant. I worked in at Tommy's Cuisine. I was a expediter, and I also did captain, waiter. And I wanted to say something about that really quick about captaining private parties that we used to do. One of the coolest private parties I ever did was Justice Scalia. I don't know if you ever heard of Justice Scalia. He was a Supreme Court justice, and I waited on. I gave him impeccable service. It's the last meal he had ever had in New Orleans, because like 3 or 4 days later, he ended up passing away in a hunting accident, supposedly hunting in West Texas. He came through New Orleans and went to West Texas. And if you ever look up Justice Scalia, like conspiracy theories, you'll find out that they found Justice Scalia with a pillow over his head, which I always thought was weird. But like I said, we gave him impeccable service, and he didn't look like he was going to pass away. And I always thought that was really weird. And then going back, this is the whole point of my story. I watched a program yesterday on Gerald Celente, and it's called Spies and Lies. And he was talking with this Judge Napolitano. And that's why I brought this up, because it was weird timing. Judge Napolitano was telling him that he would speak with Justice Scalia, because they're both Italian type gentlemen. And Justice Scalia was telling Judge Napolitano how the CIA was spying on the Supreme Court, and how they're, if you ever take a look at the YouTube this content that he did, it was called Spies and Lies with Gerald Celente. But they're talking about how the CIA is in every court, in the Supreme Court, and in every capital in the United States, that they're spying on everybody. Which, I mean, we're targeted, so we understand that it's kind of true. Like, and it could be everybody, but some people it's more overt than others. They have a lot of information on us. But yeah, so I went to New Orleans. I was in New Orleans for about 6-7 years. Big Easy, super easy. All I had to do is work 10 to 15 hours a week. It paid for my rent. And I lived by myself. It was a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath townhouse. Paid for my electricity and my water and my home. And I got raided. I got raided on completely false allegations, which were knowingly false. The police, I had body-worn camera. I did my research afterwards. When I like last time, because they've been taking attempts at my life several times. And the last time they did it, I said, I have to get all the information I can possibly get to make sure like nobody thinks I'm crazy. And I can say, hey, look, this led to this, that led to this, that led to this, that led to this. Because it was ongoing for it's still ongoing. Like the last time I was in in September or August 29, 25, I was still being targeted. I had to leave. And like they love going after you at airports. Did you ever?
Yeah.
And so you want me to tell my whole story about how exactly how everything went?
Yeah. When did you discover that you were being targeted? Because there's always that moment in time where you actually discover, and then you always go back to your past to find out more information, I guess.
2 years in exile, 2 years. I didn't know what was going on. And I even sent a complaint. And in the complaint, it said that I may be targeted. And I still didn't know what targeted meant. I didn't understand it. Like, I don't understand that. There's people that are going to actually send people that actually like will spy on you your every moment of every day. Like, I didn't understand something like that could possibly happen to somebody, especially who's minding their own business, who's not trying to do anything wrong, is trying to follow the rules, doesn't have any kids, doesn't have any problems. And so it took me 2 years. It was actually a an article by this lady named Jean Guerrero. She talked about her dad being targeted, and she wrote an article about it. And so I started reading this article. And a friend of mine had been targeted too before. When I first went to New Orleans, I used to talk to her, and she sent me an article about it. But she was real quiet about it, and she never would say anything about it. And I read this article, and it was like, oh, people would be breaking into houses, taking apart things, this and that. And I was like, this is kind of strange, but it's cool. Like she showed me it, because like if she hadn't showed me that, some of the things that were happening to me, I had already read this article, but it didn't say anything about targeted individuals. It just said like this kind of stuff, and it was making it seem like it could be alien type stuff going on. I'm so like, aliens, like why would
Yeah.
aliens breaking
Yep.
into your house? What were you gonna say? Yeah, that's what they use, aliens or demons or stuff like that, where, so you can't explain it. Oh, it's got to be a demon. Oh, it's got to be an alien. But she turned me on to like that kind of like that's possible. But I was like, oh, this is like some kind of like fiction, like maybe I hate to say conspiracy theory, because a lot of conspiracies have been proven correct. Conspiracy theories have been proven true. And like our government owes $36 trillion. So, I mean, that's a lot of money to be owing. And like, where's all this money going for? And we don't have health care. We don't have anything. All we have is people fighting wars,
Exactly.
constantly fighting war. Could even be fighting fifth generation warfare against its own population. And we might not even know what's happening. What's fifth generation warfare? What's non-kinetic? So that means if it's non-kinetic, that means they're not shooting they're not shooting like bullets at you, that they're maybe shooting microwave weapons at you, maybe all kinds of things, neuro monitoring. But so when I first found out I was being targeted, what it meant to be targeted individual was the King Guerrero, an expose or whatever, a piece about her dad. And she was reading about her dad and how her dad would go look around, like try to tear apart her house looking for what, because he was hearing voices and people were zapping him. And people have never really zapped me with something where I felt burnt, but I've had voice to skull or the Frey effect.
Yep.
I've had people read my mind, like look through my eyes, which is like, that sounds completely absurd, but we're in 2025 right now. We're in the 21st century. We should be having flying cars and all that kind of things. Instead, we have people trying to destroy us by reading our minds, targeting us, and
Yep.
non-consensual experimentation for psychological warfare.
Yep.
But so
Yep.
I'll go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just gonna say I agree with you. Like, people don't understand the extent, and they don't have an open enough mind to realize the extent of this program and how much technology is involved in it.
100%. I agree with you 100%. And AI, they're using AI. AI can magnify all kinds of things that we don't even know how far. I mean, some people say, oh, the military's 10 years ahead. I'd say they're 50, maybe even more years ahead of what we can't even begin to consider what they know.
I agree. And they're making people's digital twins already, if they haven't already put our digital twins on this supercomputer.
I've been hearing about that too, and I totally agree with that. There's so many things, like you could be using technology to advance civilization, and said they're using it to enslave it. And that's one thing I like about your program, how you put such a positive thing about it, and you try to say be strong, and or you do say, you don't try, you do say it, and all the things that most of us have been through, and we're still like, hey, things aren't that bad, people aren't that bad. Hopefully there's more good people than they're bad, but sometimes, like when you're being gang stalked, it doesn't seem like that. Like when I was being gang, it's 5-1, and these people are saying, they're thinking, oh, they're older body, they're older, older like souls and stuff like that. And it's like, well, so if you're older souls and I'm such a young person, right, and such a young, nothing soul, right, my soul's nothing, right, compared to you, because there's 5 of you coming at me, right, at all times. Because when first when at one point it was 5 people to one. It was one neighbor or two neighbors on each side. One was using a child. But let me go back to that. So that 2 years, right? I ended up reading that about her dad. You can get it about her dad. She wrote a piece. She's from out of Los Angeles. She used to write for Los Angeles Times, and I was like, man, what her dad's going through sounds very similar to what I'm going through, and what they're calling it is targeted individuals. So I started reading about targeted individuals. Like, oh wow, this is kind of what's happening with me, right? And before that, though, I had gone back to New Orleans because I went into exile around January 6, 2021. And I still had a month's rent because I had first, last month. I had a month's rent, full of rent, and I had to leave because I don't know if I left you. I caught my neighbor entering my house, so the gig was up, but I didn't know what targeting was. I was just like, what kind of weirdo is coming into the house? And I'm thinking, it's got to be working for the government or somehow, because there's more things that I had kind of like did, which I'll go into to that point, but I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know, like you have a friend, you had a guest on Igor who he says, you don't know until it's too late, right? And I knew that things were happening, but I didn't know how to explain it. In my mind was, I was being like in a state of denial. And some people say it's disassociating because you're like, nah, these people couldn't have just done this to me. Like these people just threatened to kill me and they couldn't have done that to me. Like that's just imagination. It's just voices. This is not happening. You know, I'm kind of going insane, but I'm not because I heard it, but it didn't happen. This is my imagination. This is basically where I was at most of the time when the things were happening to me. So,
well, because it's hard to kind of wrap your head around someone doing this to another individual against their will. And a lot of people are like, why? Why would they be targeting you? And I'm like, because we're the beta test.
Yeah. And it's just hard to wrap your mind around. It's like who would be observing someone 24/7? Who has the time? And at the time when it was happening to me, it was during COVID. So that was like two of my neighbors never left. Like, I don't know how they were getting, but I don't know anything about them because I was trying to mind my own business. Wasn't saying like, why aren't you working? Or like, I just one of them has a kid. I don't want to have anything to do with him. He has a child, you know, the worst thing that could happen. The child accuses me of something and then I'm, you know, whatever. So that kid's over there. These two people, they're they're partners. And I don't want to have anything to do with them either, even though one of them tried to get me to work with them. And I'm like, I'm not going to work with my neighbor. I don't even really know you, and I don't really want to work with you. And one of the things that they would do was like when he would leave, like you talked about one time how you had a neighbor that would always hit a pole in one of the corners of your room, in the corner of it where you live, right? Like the neighbor would just randomly do that. The one neighbor who tried to get me to get a job with him, I was like, nah, I don't want to work. I'm okay, thank you. He would come like in the morning, not every, but once a week, maybe twice a week. He's the only person that left, right? He'd come out in the front of my house where I lived in the apartment. And, cause it was a little bit of like a porch walkway. He'd stomp on the porch and then he'd shake I had a steel gate in front of my door, steel gate and then my door. He'd shake that thing, rattle it at 7 a.m. And I was like, is this dude really doing this outside right now? He wakes me up and I'm half asleep and I'm like wanting to get mad, you know, like, and I'm like, that's what he's wanting me to do is get mad. And I'm like, nah, I'm just going to try to ignore it. Like it didn't happen. That's like, nah, whatever. Like, I'm not going to run out and try to, what the fuck? Excuse my, like, what are you doing? Like, la, 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 you know, like started like whatever that dude's trip is. I don't even know. I'm here. I'm just going to go back to sleep and just ignore it. But then when he would leave, his wife or his old lady or whoever he had staying with him, they were partners. She would start using voice to skull to try to get me to go over in a weird type of way. You know, I'm not going to go into, but like an like kind of type of way. And I'm like, what is this chick? And how was she talking to me right now? Like, how am I hearing this? She even did it with my dad, and my dad would get upset. He's like, what is she like? And he tell me like my dad, like, what? I don't even know how this has happened. My dad heard voices, but he still doesn't believe it was happening. And I try to explain it to him and he still doesn't. Like, he would get mad. He's like, why is this girl every single day? She's trying to get you to go over there. I'm like, I have no idea. And I thought if I ever go over there, that's a setup. Like the next thing you know, she's calling the cops. Oh, he's trying to break into my house. Oh, blah, blah. You know, it was like, but why would you like, I never understood why she would do something like that a lot of days when I was there. Cause there was days where I worked and during COVID and she, that was kind of like a weird thing. Like it's hard to explain, but like most people wouldn't believe like, but it was what was one of the things that was happening, which I was just like, what kind of like, random sick thoughts are you trying to put in my mind? Which is like, they're not there. The thoughts that you're trying to put in my mind are not there. And I wouldn't want to disrespect
Exactly.
my neighbor to do some stupid stuff like that. I don't find pleasure in disrespecting somebody.
I'm going to validate your point here for just a second. I had Brooke Jeffries on Wednesday's podcast, and she's an intuit, right? She's an intuitive, gifted psychic. So she had her neighbors giving her voice to Skull, and she would always hear them arguing. One day she got on a call with a client and they started at it. And then she asked the client, do you hear these people in the background fighting? And the client said no, but she could hear them clear as day.
That's weird. That's always the skull.
It's the same thing that you're describing.
My dad has my same DNA too. And they stole my DNA I was never a convicted felon, but when I got raided, like you said, in 2018, August 14, 2018, on completely false allegations, which are documented on body-worn camera video, in which I filed a complaint about, which the cops should be in jail, right? They should be in jail. They shouldn't be out. They didn't go to jail. I'm the one that started getting targeted immediately. I was being followed and stuff like that, like right when I got bailed out of jail, which is crazy. But they took my DNA. There's nothing more worse than being violated by having somebody, and you know you didn't commit a crime, and you don't have your DNA in the DNA database. Somebody's swabbing your mouth. You got to open your mouth and have somebody put a swab to get your DNA out of your mouth. And now you're in a FBI database, and like the FBI could be the biggest criminals in the world, right? And I don't, like I said, I didn't have a felony or anything. So my DNA was not in, and it's valuable. People are taking DNA all the time because they can find out you're bioresonant. So then they can do all kinds of things with that. So they take my DNA. Not only do they take your DNA, they inject you. They inject you with a needle, right? So I'm taking some type of substance, and there's this thing called SV40, right? Which could be in every vaccination or anything like that. But they give you TB. They give you something you don't even want. Like, man, I don't want you to put that in me. I'm being injected with something. Like, people, this is violation on the worst, especially when I know I didn't do anything and I'm over here and I'm messed up. Like, they took me in my underwear. So I'm like, the worst possible thing that can happen to me right now is I get out in my underwears and I don't have anything. I'm walking around in my underwears and I got to figure out how to get clothes on. And I was like, man, this is messed up. And they're injecting me with whatever. They've been TB. They say TB. Who knows if it has SB40, whatever. Have you ever heard SB40?
Yep, SB40. And that's nanotechnology. So they got to get the tech in you somehow. So first of all, they need your DNA. They have to get the nanotechnology in you somehow. Their favorite way is injecting it. And then you need some asshole to just hate you and put you on the list. That's how this program works.
And so I got thrown into jail, completely false charges. A friend of mine who I was helping out at the time, who actually closed my doors. The cops left all the doors open. They cut my lock and they left all my doors open. And I complied. I didn't do anything. I didn't have any type of anger towards them. I avoided them like the plague. No idea why you would just leave they left all my doors open, but a person closed my door. The person that closed my door, she bailed me out. She ended up bailing me out. Because luckily I knew the judge. He would come into where I worked, and he was a really nice man. And I was just telling him I don't have any money. And I had money, but I was completely lying to him because I knew I was there. It was before COVID, but I was like during the summer, and it gets slow during the summer. And I had been leaving. I had been going on trips, not because of being targeted. This is before I was targeted. I would just travel, when it was slow, and leave, go to Florida. I have friends over there where I could stay for free. And so I was like, I haven't been working. And which was partly true, but it was mostly a lie. I was telling him I did not make. So he only gave me like $700 to $1,000 bond. I think it was $700 for aggravated assault and aggravated battery, which were completely false charges. But I think he knew because he probably shows that they didn't have a warrant or stuff like that. And he was super cool. Yeah. Only time I've ever felt like, God, this guy saved my life. So, because I was already
someone's on my side.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the person that closed the door too, which I don't think she's on my side anymore, but I always owe her that. I think she's been compromised because I've gone back and I stayed there with her one time, and they were like on August 29th, they were targeting me, and I'm like, are you hearing that? No, I'm not hearing that. Like, how are you not hearing that? You're hearing, like, this is happening. Like, no, you're just tripping. But anyway, so I get out of jail. I got to go to court. And I'm all concerned about that. I'm like, man, this thing's a serious charge. I can probably be doing 10 years, something like that. And they were even trying to get me worse charges. They were trying to get me on rape, aggravated armed robbery in my own house. They're saying I armed robbery someone in my own house. I shot a gun in the roof. And after shooting the gun in the roof, I went and chased the girl outside and pistol whipped her over the head. But I have a locked gate, and somehow she got out of the locked gate after I pistol whipped her, which the story never made any sense. And they had admitted cops on body-worn camera saying, she's lying about all of this. She's lying about everything. They said that word for word. The head supervisor, Bowser or something, I forget his first name, but Bowser. And they still came after me. So I didn't know any of this. I'm being accused of stuff. I have no idea what's going on. Like, I just know cops come, and like I almost stood my ground. I should have stood my ground, but like they would have covered things up and I still would have been in jail, and there still would have been like, I was the worst type of human being because I tried to kill cops when they came in, on completely false charges and with no warrant and took me off. So then my charges were refused. And this is before even my charges were refused. I'm being targeted, but just by police following me all over the place. Like they have real-time crime cameras. So everywhere I'm going, like I'm seeing cops, and I'm like,
Yep.
and I'm not afraid. I'm just like, why are these cops following me? I'm not afraid. Oh, they're going to kidnap me. Cause I never thought cops could be like that. I was like, why are they following me? No, just like, I haven't done anything wrong. Like, what do I have everything to worry about? They did something wrong, but I didn't know how bad it was until I got the body-worn cameras video. So then I was like, well, so I'm being followed all the time and stuff like that. I got to figure out how to do something about this. So I went to go get to an attorney to try to go do a lawsuit, civil lawsuit. Lady didn't help me out of anything. She's probably connected in those circles. I gave her,
Absolutely.
I showed her it, and she's like, what'd she tell me? Oh, you're lucky to be alive. And I'm like, lady, you could say I'm lucky to be alive, but like, I'm the only one that complied, and I knew everything that was happening. Like I had, like, something had woke me up that day before they came in. Like I kept on hearing this buzzing sound, like a high pitched buzzing sound about 5 feet in my room.
Yep.
Like, and I was going to sleep, and then I was waking up, and I was like, what's that buzzing sound? What's that buzzing sound? I kept on going to sleep, waking up. And so finally I was like, man, and I was sleeping in the nude. So I'm going to go check out what this is. I was being too lazy to like put anything on and do anything like that. And I was like, I'm going to just go check this out, man, see what's going on. Like, why I keep on hearing this buzzing sound. And so I reached over I had some underwears, like ripped up underwears that I was going to clean my floorboards with the next day in the morning. I was going to take the whole day and clean out my house, and just including floorboards with these old, and I didn't know where the shorts I had just taken off were at. So I just grabbed whatever I could, and I put that on, and I walk outside. And right when I'm walking outside, and I'm almost about to open the second gate, because I came through 2 gates, a wooden gate. I was about to open the second gate, and I saw cops coming with the guns. I was like, oh my God, I'm dead. Like, I was like, I'm dead. I am dead right now. Like, what the heck's going on? So I run back into my house. I don't even have enough time to close the door, which that would have probably saved everything. I could have just closed the door. But I didn't feel like I had anything to run from. I didn't feel scared like I had done anything wrong. I didn't even know what they were like. And so that led to me wanting to almost stand my ground. Everybody should fight back if you can in the most legal way, because if you don't, they say that you're embracing your enemy. You're letting your enemy do whatever they want to with you. And so I didn't.
Exactly. So so if you have suggestions for people that are going through this, or haven't yet been through it, let's put it that way, haven't yet experienced being a targeted individual, say what you were going to say about standing your ground, because I think it's super important for people to fight for their rights.
Yeah, exactly. 100. You should always fight for your rights, because if you don't, they take more and more away, because they know they can already take your rights away, and then they'll do more. So that's what got me targeted, that illegal raid. And like about a year later, about July 2019, I got new neighbors. For some reason, both my neighbors on both sides of me moved out. One moved out in 1 month, and in half the month, the next one moved out. It was a black man and a white woman, just 2 people, right? So then the next 2 neighbors moved in to the east of me. And I knew the landlord, the guy that would collect his rent. I knew him pretty well, and I would talk to him. He's the one that gave me he's like, I got a cheap place, because I wasn't sure where I was going to stay. I had to leave where I was at because of the raid. They thought I was doing something wrong. And of course, people like to victim blame, victim shame. It's one of the biggest things that people don't understand. Like, people automatically, you had to do victim, and they're like, no, we have like we have unregulated police. We might have some of the worst police. They might even be at war with us. And what would we do about it, right? We'll just take it and say, public safety, right? Public safety. Meanwhile, there's mass shootings all over the place. Why are there so many mass shootings if there's so much police funding You know, like there's more funding for why are there so much funding towards fusion centers? You know, like and
Defund the police. Yeah.
it's crazy.
Defund the police takes on a whole new meaning, doesn't it?
Yeah. The more they've been getting paid, the more mass shootings and more mass casualty type of things are happening. Is there like some people believe in correlations, and I don't know if one thing leads to another. One thing is like similar. Like why wouldn't you believe maybe police are maybe they're sending people to make this happen? Maybe there's psychological operations that are happening that are making these things occur. And people, what psychological operation?
Absolutely.
Oh, it's when people they send not. There's this other thing. It's called mind war. It's when they send groups for one person, groups of three, and then they come at you in all kinds of weird ways. But like for me, there was actually four at one time, and the child was included. Either way, I'll get back to where I was. Sorry for jumping all over the place. So I had two neighbors leave. A male and a white female moved in to the east of me, and I never saw them move in. I just knew they were there, and sometimes they come talk to me. But man, they brought a whole mess. They bring a whole mess of stuff and they put it all against my house, all against where I live. So like that started this whole thing of things called microaggressions. Like microaggressions, why is your house like, why aren't you putting all your stuff against your apartment? I mean, we shared an alleyway, but they put all their stuff against, they put all their stuff against my home where I was living. And for a long time, I thought they were keeping devices in that stuff. I think, cause I'm not going through this guy's stuff to look what's in there. I was thinking there was devices that they put in there that were giving me sounds to my head. That's where I was thinking, because I hadn't researched anything about. So I was thinking these people are using the stuff that they put next to me, and there's some kind of device that's making that I can amplify in their voices, where I can hear their voices, where they're telling me all kinds of random dumb stuff. Like, and I don't even know why. I don't even know how they're able to see me. And you're like, oh, that's weird. They can see you. That's why they start saying some stuff like people say, oh, you're mentally ill. It's like, well, what if there was actual surveillance? And I actually sent you a video where I caught my neighbor coming in to my residence when I had to leave 1 month. Like once I have to leave, this guy's coming out. I have no other choice. So They move in. My neighbor, another neighbor moves in. And why I'm saying this is because police sent people to me. You understand what I'm saying? So they're actively attacking me. Like they're spending money to send people.
Yeah, you can call them handlers or gang stalkers. What they do is they recruit these people to City Hall and they tell them about these programs, and then they pay them via gift cards. They could probably even give them free rent.
Thank you. That's what always got me the angriest too, is like, I'm over here paying rent. And that's what for some reason I had that idea, like these people are probably getting their rent paid, and I'm for doing this stupid thing that they're doing to me. And I'm over here having to pay rent, and water and electric is super expensive over there. And I'm only one person. It was expensive. And I'm thinking, man, I'm paying this rent, and these people get free rent and then terrorize me like every day. Whenever they feel like it, whenever I'm around here, whenever I'm in my home and alone, they like to terrorize. Even with my dad, when he got there, that they started messing with me and my dad, and they put us against each other. And I think they were using AI for that, something like that, because they couldn't have been that smart. They would like think 2 or 3 steps ahead. So where we'd like, they'd have some type of thing planted in my mind where I was believing what they were saying, because I didn't know it was like
you were agitated,
subliminal.
And then your dad got agitated. Yeah,
and we conflict, And they even stole his key. They stole his spare car keys. He still to this day doesn't believe that they stole his keys. He's like he thinks he lost them. And what they did when they stole his keys is they planted a vape pen, a THC pen in his car, which it was my THC pen. But the thing about it, and this is how like they watch every moment of whatever you're doing, was the THC pen was given to me as a tip, because I used to have a friend that he was a neighbor to where I maintain these 12 lawns, our properties, was half a block. The neighbor just won over. He didn't recruit me, but he's like, hey, you want to help me do like extra work every once in a while? I was like, yeah. So he had a property right next to where I maintained those 12 properties. And then he had another property across town where I'd go, which was his home. So I'd go cut his grass over there at his house and do work for him. And a really nice guy. And like he had a THC pen. And he was like, hey, you want this? It was used. It wasn't a new one. He's like, here, you want it? I was like, yeah, take that. Why not? And I didn't normally have something like a THC pen. I didn't use them. I had it like, that's mine. So I just left it one day. I think when my daddy came, like I kind of hid it, but I didn't even have to hide it because he doesn't know what that is. But I just out of respect, I hid it. And the thing disappears.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I never thought about I lost it. I didn't, because I never realized like I bought it or it just was randomly given to me. And so we crossed over to Mexico, me and my dad. and his wife, we went to clean out his car, and his wife finds this THC pen there, and she's wondering, she thought it was a screwdriver. And I'm thinking, how on earth could that have gotten here? And this was still when I hadn't figured out, like, I knew that my neighbors were weirdos, but I was like, how could that? And then that's when I was like, that's 100% planted. There's no way I would have used that and put that in my dad's car. But they stole they stole his keys. And what they really like doing, because my neighbor was entering all the time, and that's what gets me the most. There's a neighbor with a child, right? And they're using a child to hide psychological orbits. It's what do you call it? It's a human shield,
Child abuse?
Child abuse too, all kinds of things. Like what if I were to get mad at that person, right? And that you put the child in danger, you put both people in danger. And child abuse 100%. He'd be coming into the house all the time. Like anytime I left, be moving things around, taking things, bringing them back. Like he used to like take this hammer, take it away, bring back the hammer. Sponges. He loved taking sponges, toothbrushes, laundry detergent, anything you can imagine, like real little. He loved taking lighters, chargers. That's one of the most favorite things is a charger, especially if they're chasing you. If they're chasing you, keep your chargers on you at all times because they'll figure out how to get your charger. And so they moved in. The gentleman with his daughter moved in, and then these two people moved in, and in July 2019, and they didn't start targeting me until about March when COVID hit and it was locked down. So they were there all the time. I had a friend staying with me at the time because I had left for a few months. I was going to Fort Lauderdale, and I was going for the week in Fort Lauderdale working, and then coming back on the weekends to New Orleans just to avoid, like, I'm in a bad relationship, right? I'm in an abusive relationship I don't even want to be in, right? Because of the cops. And so I'll leave, right? I'm going to leave my stuff in this apartment, cheapest apartment I can find, instead of putting it in storage and just losing it in storage and put it in an apartment. And I went to Florida for weeks. Then I come back, I fly on Spirit. I could get cheap flights, like $30, $40, as long as I did it ahead of time. So I'm going all the way out of my way to do that, to stay away from police. And so then I get neighbors that move in. And about 4 or 5 months until when they moved in, July, about late October, I came back and I was like, that Florida thing's it's too hot over there, man. Like, I was working outside and I was like, I'm just going to stay in New Orleans. By now I gave the police 6 months, like they should be all right. But now they moved in neighbors. But I had seen them when they moved in because I was coming during the weekend. So I watched them move in. But I had moved in a friend of mine that I had seen, and I was like, hey, watch the place for me, would you? Like, you get a free place. You don't have to pay for electric, water, or anything. Just watch the place when I'm gone. And so she watched the place, but she didn't do a good job. I mean, I don't. She did do a good job. She watched it, but that's one thing you have to. I'm adding people. Like I'm having to go out of my way to bring someone. I want to live by myself. I don't want to live with someone else. But I'm bringing somebody in because I have to have them watch it because I'm nervous that police might do something to my house, which they eventually did doing. They brought in neighbors. I don't know if they had already put in bugs or whatever they did or wired my house before or after. But even when she was there, get this one, there was a gas leak. So there's suddenly a gas leak and an electric panel from the side of the house was exploding, like was shooting electric when I was gone. She called me, she's like, what are you trying to do? You trying to kill me? There's gas leaking here. And I was like, I don't know. Like, that sounds pretty weird that we have randomly got a gas leak and then all of a sudden electric panels like sparking out off of the side. And it's like those accidents that happen that people were like, nah, you're like, they can do things like that.
It was just an accident. Yeah.
And so I ended up.
It was planned.
Yeah. People were probably coming in and out trying to do random things that were totally messed up. So I ended up in March. She was getting unemployment and, she ended up, everybody's getting hooked up during COVID for the $600 a month for that Trump gave everybody. Do you remember that? There was people were getting weekly.
The $1,200.
Yeah,
whatever it was.
Yeah, they were getting. She got hooked up. She got hooked up with that, and so she wanted to go see her family in Alabama. So she left. So she left me there by myself, right? And me and her had been talking, and I'm like, these neighbors are pretty like nosy, right? I would talk to her about it, like, man, these people seem like real nosy. Where they say overt observation, covert surveillance. We chat about something like that, and she split. And so that's when I started hitting me with that voice to skull when I was by myself. Like, they started messing with me about it. Like, I started hearing voices, and they had moved all their stuff along my house, right, along where I stayed. And so I'm thinking it's got to be in some of those buckets they got there. And it was like, so a couple times I thought I'm going to go look through their stuff, but then I'm like, nah, man, I don't even waste my time trying to mess with that. Like, it was like that would show that they're getting to me for some reason. But I'm just going to ignore it, whatever. So for 1 year of them, from July to September 20th, they had been kind of driving me nuts. They had been trying to drive me nuts. And I left a couple times, like just to get away from them. I left 2 times. I went to, what's it called? Nacogdoches, not Nacogdoches, Vidalia, which is, it's pretty, but I just went there to get away from these people. Vidalia, Louisiana, which is, it's next to another town. I don't even remember. I just left to get away from them. Can you believe I'm just like, let me go get a hotel, get away from these people because they're getting on my nerves. And it's.
No, I've done that. I did that before I sold my condo, before they, when they were trying to off me. But I would go and stay in hotel rooms because I couldn't take the direct energy warfare.
Oh yeah, they were telling me things that were getting on my nerves. So I left, and I came back a couple times. And around September, I would go, and I think what they were doing was they were waking me up early in the morning. They would wake me up at 3, and I was thinking that it was I had PTSD from the raid, my house. I was thinking I had PTSD, that it was hitting me at 3 in the morning, and it was waking me up. Like I was having, I was totally shook when they came at my house at 3. And I was thinking, but I think it was my neighbors somehow hitting me or something. But I would be waking up at 3 in the morning, waking up earlier than I wanted to. And it's like, so I was thinking, I got PTSD or something. But I think it was them just messing with my sleep pattern and having me up at a certain time. So during Labor Day, I had one of those moments where they woke me up early. So I was like, I'm going to go for a bike ride. Get some energy, get out of here for a little bit. And my dad was staying with me. So I was like, I'm going to go for a bike ride. And I didn't take my phone on me because I kept on sending weird random messages to people on my phone. So I was thinking that when I was bike riding, I was sending random messages to people, but it was my neighbor entering my house, sending weird messages to people. So I left my phone at my house, and I took a messenger bag for the change for the bikes and stuff like that. And I took off, and I had forgotten it was during Laura. It was during Hurricane Laura. So all the evacuees in Laura they sent them to New Orleans. So there was police in every single hotel in the downtown area. There was Louisiana State Police in everywhere, every single hotel room. And I didn't realize that. And I was coming back, and I kind of tripped out, like PTSD, because I saw one of them too close. It's like, oh yeah, like, I'm sorry, like, I'm out of here. And I told them, don't follow me, because I had been being followed. It's like, don't follow me, I get out of here. And then they told me, get the fuck out of here. They thought I was talking smack to them. I was like, no, man, I'm scared. I didn't mean to see you. I didn't mean to come up on you like that. I'm out of here, right? So then they escalated the situation. They started running after me. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm back to where I was before a minute ago when they raided my house. And these people are coming after me, running after me. I don't even know what they're running after me for. And I don't even know why I'm running. I'm thinking they're going to send a bolo out, which is like, be on the lookout for it. Like, I don't know why they'd be on the lookout for me. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. I just asked the cops not to follow me. They started running after me. And I was on a bike, so I outrun them easily. They're fools. Like, I don't even know why they even begin to start running at me. So I went against traffic, split back, and I know the city real well because I worked down in the downtown. And I took a hook to left, went down this small street. I think the name of it was I forget what the name of it was, but Galvez. And I stopped on this little alleyway, alleyway where they film films all the time there, and it was across the street from a place I used to work. And I stopped there, and I was thinking, I was adjusting my bag. I was getting my bag, and I was like making sure everything was in my bag to make sure I was all right, And I was also looking to see if the cop had made it this far to follow me. And then I realized he did actually follow me. He did follow me around the corner. And so I'm looking into my bag, and I'm thinking, this is probably the worst possible thing I can ever do right now. Because if this cop right now, he sees me looking into my bag, he's probably thinking I'm grabbing a gun or something. So I was so scared. And like I said, I was on this alleyway. So I take off on up the alleyway. And then I'm thinking to myself, why am I even running from this guy? I don't even know why I'm running from this guy. I don't even know how this situation got this way. And then also I had just seen a cop stop. When he saw what was happening with us, he stopped, and where I would have to exit, the cop might be there waiting for me, like in a real quiet alleyway where there's nobody out on the street. So I said, nah. I turned back around. So I doubled back around on these cops, and I come back around, and then I'm thinking there's a bolo out. So I'm not going to try to do anything. I'm going to try to comply, but I double back around on these guys. And I see these cops, and it was super dangerous when I first turned the corner. Like, I was hoping the cop wouldn't be there, because then I'm pretty much like that guy could do anything he wanted to with me right there. But he wasn't. He had gone back to where he was originally. So I stopped right there, right? And I look at these cops, and these cops are grabbing each other's behinds. I'm not even kidding you. They're tapping each other on the backside, like super gay moment. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I'm watching this stuff right now. And then I went and I actually slowly crept up on them, and I complied, right? I complied, but in a way I was like thinking, my mind was thinking, man, smash these guys in the head with the chain, like, and I was like, nah, I can't do that. Can't do that. That's what my head was doing. I'm like, I'm back where I was, where I first I didn't stand my ground, right? I'm totally back. It was totally kind of a thrill, but it was also kind of complying. And it was also kind of like, if I went straight, there's going to be more cops there and there might be a bullet. If I go to the left, there's against traffic, there's more cops over there might be a bolo. So I was like, I'm just going to comply with these guys told me to get the F out of there. Should I go up on them real slowly? Because I could have gone real fast, but I didn't want to startle them, right? So, and I go real slowly. And my mind was telling me, like, I had the chain, and my mind was telling me, get him, like, pap, pap. And I'm like, no, my mind was telling me that. I'm like, mind, stop doing that, right? And so I, like, right when I got right next to him, I dropped the chain right next to the dudes, one of the dudes, not the dude that was following me, the Louisiana State Trooper. I dropped the chain right down on the ground, and the chain goes straight down like that, and it hits the ground, right? And it's kind of like, you never seen Braveheart, where he comes up and he's like that on the movie Braveheart? Nothing like that. Like, that's where I was wanting to do. That's, but they had no idea I was coming. And so he has it, like, he comes up on him all calm, but I was coming up on slow, not to scare him. And then I was thinking, man, I should Braveheart these people. And I'm like, no, I can't think like that. And so I let the chain go, right? Because it's not think like that, to not pat, and the chain was halved in my hand. So I dropped the chain down, and the chain drops, and you know how a chain drops, it'll make a sound. And so this cop thought he had dropped his keys. And this is kind of from trauma-based mind control and people using sounds to mess with you. Kind of like, I didn't know, maybe I learned it from there. I dropped it on him. The cop thought he goes like this, and he looks down, and he thinks he dropped his keys. And then he sees me, and then that's when I started pedaling. I started pedaling, right? And he sees me, and that gave me so much time to get away from him. They didn't have a chance to shoot, to do anything. He's like, get him. And I was complying. I was getting the fuck away from him like they had told me to. And that was a little extra, right? But that was back to where I should have done something the first time. And I was like, that kind of thrilled me that I survived that, because I thought I was dead for sure, 100%. And so he takes off. There was a cop further up that had stopped. The guy was saying that had stopped to help his buddies out for what? I hadn't committed a crime. He ended up tackling me for no reason. I hadn't committed a crime. They ended up tackling me. So those charges got refused. And that part right there where that happened, I would tell my neighbors, you see what you stupid people did? You guys got your people in bigger trouble now, because you got me charges refused again, right? These charges are going to be refused. Like, this is totally, because they hadn't been refused yet, but I knew like they didn't have, like, I hadn't committed a crime. And so I'm telling these people, and I would do all other predictive programming. Like, there's a thing I would tell them, hey, look, Operation Jump Out a Tree, that's still on. If you, whenever, embrace your legacy, Operation Jump Out a Tree, because that's what people like, white supremacy. I would tell them stuff like that. Like, they would start telling me, and I play types of music to like, there's this music called West End by the Suicide Boys. And that would always play that. Yeah. Be like, if you ever want to West End by the Suicide Boys, I would just tell them stuff like that to try to be back at them, be like, because some people would say, stop that, or I would be like, now, you know what? Operation Jump Out a Tree. You guys got an operation. I got an Operation Jump Out a Tree. Like, embrace your legacy. Go ahead, right? You know? And so, like, when that second charge was refused, it hadn't been refused till like after I left, but I had already known it was going to be refused, because I had already seen a false charge, you know what I mean? Where it didn't make any sense, and I'm in jail. This one didn't make any sense, and then I'm in jail again. I'm like, this is going to be refused, right? And I would tell them, look what you guys did. You guys just set up. And not only that, cops parked illegally for over 40 days to keep me out of the area. So they're like, I got pictures of it. They're parked totally illegally. They're part of it. To keep me away from talking to witnesses. And so that happened, right? They stole the debit card from me also, the cops from there. They didn't give me my debit card. They stole my debit card. So then 3 months later, I left New Orleans to left into exile to check it out. I left to go see how it would be where I was going to stay, where I'm at now. Because I was hearing it was crazy. I was hearing it's dangerous. And I was like, nah, I don't know. I'm not sure. And they're like, my dad's like, yeah, let's go check it out. see how it is. And I was like, I'll go check it out. And plus, we'll get away from here. And it was during hurricane season, and we had just gone through Delta, and there was two. Like when I went back, I went through Zeta, and there was two other hurricanes when I came back, but we had gone through one. I think it was Delta, and those are dangerous because then there's no electricity, and these people could just like, I was scared that there were so many cops in town with Laura that they'd come after me all like and just be like, forget it, like just take him and his dad, right? So I ended up leaving for a month and a half from September 16th to October, just to get away from them, just to check out where I could possibly like have a new place to stay, just so I could get away.
Yeah.
Things weren't working out in New Orleans. It'd be like I didn't know what was happening, but I know I was being attacked, and I still didn't want to leave. You don't like to have these people chase me out of town, right? And it's like, well, it wasn't just these people; it was maybe thousands of police as well. Like and there was an army of secret police there. I ended up going to Mexico, coming back in October, and that's when I had a friend call me. All right, this chick that I knew, and she was, I think they were trying to use her as a honey trap. So then that's when it became 5-1, right? She called me, hey, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I'm still here. Like, and she's like, hey, you want to come over, stay over here? You're more than welcome. I got extra space. Cool lady. Like what was so cool about her was she'd always clean. I never asked her to clean. I never, you got to do this. She would always clean. Like even in my old apartment, I let her stay there and she'd clean the house. Like it was just randomly. Like I don't think women should have to clean her or anything. I clean, but like, it's nice having someone who would like, you don't ask them or anything, but they'd like clean the whole place up all the time and have the place clean, and plus to keep an eye on the place. So she moved. She moved in. Didn't really move in, but she had bags of stuff that she was staying with me for about just before Thanksgiving and to January 2021. And that's when they super started targeting me. Like she became compromised, and she knew the whole game about what was going on. Like I was totally compromised by then. Like these people were embarrassing me in the shower. They were totally humiliating me in all kinds of the worst type of ways. It was a nightmare, keeping me up, sleep depriving me. And so they had a mole on the inside, right? And I didn't want to believe this is a mole, right? But I knew it was her. And the first time it ended up happening, like it ended up in a shower situation where they humiliated me in the shower, right? I should be able to have privacy in the shower, but I can't, right? And so I ended up kicking my friend out that day, not in a mean way. I was like, you got to go, like, because I'm not a hater. And I told her, like, hey, look, if you're down with that neighbor right next door, right, you can go over there. But she's like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. And I'm like, bro, I'm not crazy. Like what you're doing right now is totally messed up. And then so it ended up escalating. So I was like, you got to leave. So I ended up making her leave, but like she's left all her stuff there. And so after that, the time I made her leave, right during, like when they humiliated me in the shower, I made her leave for 5 straight days. These people were screaming, yelling, hooting, hollering 24/7. Like the last day I got home, like on the 7th, when I went to go file a report, not for the screaming, for the gun, phone, and debit card that police had stolen, which was on body worn camera video. I was coming into my house, and like right when I come into my house, the moment like I'm putting the key in, these people start screaming, oh, like screaming, like kind of humiliating me in a type of way. And I was like, oh man, this is like, I got to get out of here. So I was like, my best idea was to get out of here, was to go file a report for a gun that had been stolen on the raid, a phone that had been stolen. That ended up to being $1,000 in itself. So that's a felony. And then my debit card, which was stolen, which was also had over $1,000 when at the time it was stolen. So that was a felony too, right? So I was like, let me go report it. I've been wanting to do it, but I was scared. I was wanting to do it, but I was scared, and I should have gone with somebody, but I didn't. So then I went to go file this report. My neighbors provided intelligence to police to have me set up to kill me. Like I showed you that video where that cop, he says, you'll kill me, right? Why is the cop saying that they would kill me? I'm lucky, thanks Dad, that I'm lucky that they didn't kill me. And the whole thanks Dad was a narrative, because they were saying, because my dad called when I was in there and saved my life. And I had told my dad before I went, I was like, Dad, I'm going to the police station. If something happens to me, I was at the police station. That's the last place I was at. My dad doesn't believe. He's like, yeah, whatever. And so, but he did call me 30 minutes into me being there. And I was telling Dad, hey, Dad, I'm at the police station. These people are acting weird. I don't know, like they're not letting me file a report. They're trying to make it seem like I'm crazy or something.
Thank you for listening to the Unveiling Shadows podcast. I hope today's episode has shed light on the experiences that too often remain hidden. If you or someone you know has a story to share, please reach out to me. Remember, you're not alone and your voice matters. Follow me on social media and subscribe to the podcast for more inspiring stories. Until next time, stay strong and keep unveiling the shadows.